I'm Michelle Begue with a look at what's happening in Latin America now. But first, our news trivia. Which Latin American country has a coastal town that's being swallowed by the ocean at an alarming rate? We'll have the answer later. In Honduras, former President Juan Orlando Hernandez has been placed under arrest in response to a United States extradition request. The charges are related to weapons and drug trafficking. On Tuesday, Hernandez said he would collaborate with the national police, but the Honduras Supreme Court judge gave the order for his capture Tuesday afternoon. Police arrested him at his home. In 2021, Hernandez's brother, a former congressman, Juan Antonio Hernandez, was sentenced to life in prison for narco-trafficking by a U.S. court. Authorities in Brazil are looking for survivors after a landslide triggered by heavy rains killed more than 100 people and destroyed more than 50 homes in the mountainous town of Petrópolis in Brazil. Some streets were flooded by downpours as the mud and water broke into some houses. Videos posted on social media showed cars and household goods being dragged by the landslides. The fire department reported that the area got in just 3 hours the amount of rain it had received in the previous month. Military rescuers and engineers deployed in the area with heavy machinery. In 2011, heavy rainfall killed over 900 people in a neighboring area. In Colombia, we're reporting on the deadly situation in the department of Arauca by the border of Venezuela. The government claims 86 murders have taken place in this region since the start of the year. Social leaders and human rights activists have been killed, and more than 1,300 people have been displaced following a turf war between armed groups who want to control the trafficking routes. We covered a cultural event in Bogotá where artists and activists were calling for action. The group is against militarization, which they argue has brought no security to the region.
Y si nos ponemos a ver, el departamento de Arauca es uno de los más militarizados. Aparte de ser militarizado, tiene inteligencia de todos los niveles.
Now let's check in with my colleague Al Baverstock, who is in Mexico. He's been reporting on the after effects of the U.S. decision to temporarily suspend imports of one of Mexico's most emblematic products.
The US has temporarily suspended all imports of Mexican avocados after an American inspector was threatened by organized crime. Avocados are Mexico's largest agricultural export, representing nearly 16% of its total produce sent abroad. And Michoacán is currently the only Mexican state with a license to export to the US, sending $3.85 billion in exports last year. So much money has attracted extortion on the part of the Mexican cartels, and competition between the Jalisco New Generation and the Familia Michoacana has turned into all-out war for control of the sector. But crossing a line into threatening a US inspector was a step too far, and Michoacán now faces a devastating embargo on its cartel-ridden green gold industry.
Now let's take a look at what stories we're following for next week. First, we're following the corruption trial of Argentina's former president Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. This week, Argentina's president Alberto Fernández made a rare court appearance to defend Kirchner, who is his vice president and also former chief. Fernández de Kirchner is accused of arbitrarily funneling money for a provincial highway project to a company linked to a family friend. This allegedly occurred during her presidency from 2007 to 2015. In his testimony, current President Fernández calls the whole idea a fantasy. And second, we continue to follow the aftermath of the oil spill off of Peru's coast. Cleanup efforts for the 12,000 barrels of crude oil dispersed by Spanish oil company Repsol are still ongoing. Peru's fishermen are struggling to make ends meet as it's impossible to fish. There's also obviously a lack of tourism on these coasts. Repsol's spokesperson says they hope to finish the cleanup by the end of February. That will be followed by a second phase, which involves restoring the ecosystem. And now the answer to our news trivia. The answer is A. We're talking about the Brazilian resort town called Atafona. It's located north of Rio de Janeiro, and the Atlantic Ocean is advancing an average of 6 meters a year. It has long been prone to erosion. 500 homes have already been swallowed by the sea, but environmental experts say the problem is being exacerbated by climate change. And that's it for this week. We'll see you again soon on Latin America Now.